Hi, Dr. Alina Kolchitsky, Boutique Bodyworks, physical therapist, lifestyle medicine, and more. I'm going to make a simple treat, one of my favorite go-tos. It's peanut butter chocolate chip cookies, very few ingredients, and it's pretty healthy and gives you some protein as well as satisfies your sweet tooth. So we're going to talk a little bit about peanut butter. Peanut butter should come in its most natural form, so avoid the ones full of salt and sugar that are high on the ingredient list for salts. For example, this one, you're not going to find one that's salt-free unless you make your own, which you can do. You can buy a grinder and grind your own peanuts, absolutely. But this, is probably the best you're going to get in terms of simplicity of ingredients and not having too many bad things. So all this one is just dry roasted peanuts and sea salt. That's it. Avoid anything that any product that has more than that, and absolutely do not buy peanut butter with sugar in it. It's not necessary to sweeten everything. Really, if you are addicted to sugar, work on slowly changing your palate to be able to tolerate less and less, and eventually you don't notice its absence at all. Trust me. I'm speaking from experience. So I now have developed a very low sugar palate. So things taste very sweet to me because I don't eat too sweet things. So anyways, less sugar the better, as we know. Diabetes, inflammation of your arteries, heart disease, all of that, it happens from high blood sugars and insulin response. So we're also going to use some pure maple syrup, organic. We're going to need some chocolate chips. So I use organic dark chocolate. These are 70% dark chocolate. You can get them 60, 65, 55 different increments. So again, use what you like, but the lower it is in sugar naturally, the better. Now my sweetener choice is maple syrup because it's high in antioxidants of all kinds. The darker, the better. So this is just pure. Don't buy Aunt Jemima. What do they call that even? I don't even know what it's called anymore because I haven't used it in so long. Pancake syrup, right? It's actually not maple syrup. So make sure you buy pure maple syrup. The darker, the better. So I have dark amber here, and it's organic. We're going to need some baking powder and some salt. So, and some eggs and peanut butter, of course. So it's a really simple recipe. We are going to spoon out just a cup of peanut butter. Okay, so this is 1 cup. Now we should preheat our oven to 350 degrees while we're preparing all that. Okay, so peanut butter, some people are afraid of it. I mean, absolutely, if you have an allergen, this is not the recipe for you. If you don't have allergies to other nuts, then by all means substitute with a different nut butter. I like cashew butter quite a bit. Almond butter is nice too, so you can use either one. But now there's so many butter choices out there from other nuts and seeds, so you can experiment and use the one that's appropriate for you. So if you have an allergy, please do not make this. If you have a sensitivity to peanuts, then this is not the recipe for you either. Now, every tablespoon of peanut butter, the average serving is 2 tablespoons. 1 tablespoon has 4 grams of protein, so it is a good source of protein. Looks like it's going to use up our whole jar here. Also, it is high in fat because it's from peanuts. Nuts and seeds are naturally high in fats and a good source of healthy fats, so don't be afraid of them. You want to use them. Oh, before we do that, let's beat our eggs. Okay, so we have that sitting ready. So I'm going to take 2 eggs. Eggs, of course, have protein too. 1 egg has about 5 grams of protein. I am a lacto-ovo-pescatarian vegetarian, but very rare on the fish, mostly lacto-ovo. Though I was raised lacto-vegetarian, meaning I only eat dairy products from animals, nothing else. But yes, so I do now eat them just a couple times a week at the most, because we do need to get B12. Yes, you can get B12 from active yeast, but we absorb much better from eggs. Eggs have choline, but we can get choline from other places too, so you do not have to have eggs in your diet. I grew up very healthy without them, so it's just your preference of what you think works best for your body. Okay, so we're just beating that, and so that it's nicely mixed. It doesn't have to be anything to a degree of fanciness, like we're not making a meringue, so don't worry about it too much. Now let's add our vanilla. You always want to add your liquid things first. So you're going to put about a tablespoon. We're not baking a cake, so I'm not measuring it exactly. It doesn't matter. Okay, now for the sugar portion, the sweetener, the recipe calls for half a cup. For me, that's kind of a lot, but again, you do you, and I'm going to do me. So I'm going to use just a third of a cup. Oh, it's really hard to open. I like to use my little rubber grabbers to open the jars if they're difficult. It's just that it starts to crystallize the sugar. Okay, so just going to eyeball that. Now, I'm not a fan of other types of artificial sweeteners. I mean, other types of sweeteners like stevia and erythrotrols, the sugar alcohols. Sugar alcohols are inflammatory for the gut. And so if you have IBS or like Crohn's, colitis, or just irritable bowel, or suffer with diarrhea, constipation, and other GI issues, I would stay away from the sugar alcohols because it's likely going to aggravate you. Okay, so we've blended all of that by hand. Now we'll add in the peanut butter. Stevia is natural, but it's pretty hard to get natural stevia. You know, the good old food industry likes to basically try to cheat us, and a lot of the products out there that are stevia are not actually pure stevia and can have other artificial sweeteners blended in there. And they get away with it because of the labeling laws don't really protect us. They don't demand manufacturers to reveal what's in their products in a way that makes sense. So you can't trust what the label says. So I stay away from stevia. Monk fruit is an option. That's a sweetener from a fruit. But again, I don't know, I haven't read yet that there's any adulterating of that product yet, but it has become more popular, so I wouldn't be surprised if it will be soon, if not already. So I just stick to, you know, maple syrup, pure maple syrup, and because you're getting all the antioxidants and you don't use too much. Okay, so back to peanut butter. Some people have been concerned with mold with peanuts, the aflatoxins, and so according to research and the Cancer Institute in the United States, it's not an issue with peanut butter. Processing of peanuts to make peanut butter removes that risk for mold. And the other thing that I like to do is once I've opened, a brand new jar, is I store it in the fridge. So I do not leave it in the cupboard, but put it in the fridge. Okay. So it's looking kind of blended, getting close. Now we do need to add a pinch of salt, just a quarter of a teaspoon. I like using Redmond salt. It's all natural, it's got mineral in it. It's not been made from chemically in a lab, but rather sourced from ancient lake pit in Utah from the Jurassic period. So it's got all kinds of minerals from that time deposited. Okay, it's getting kind of thick. Now let's add in our baking powder. It calls for a teaspoon. Now your average teaspoon that you use for eating is actually bigger than a kind you use for measuring. So just be aware of that. If you're making a cake, something that has to be like scientifically measured, exact, don't use just your average utensils, use the measuring tools for baking. But these are cookies, so it's not an issue. Now, other things that peanut butter have, they're high in vitamin E. Peanuts are high in vitamin E, like many nuts. So you're not just getting protein and healthy fats, and it is low in carbs as a result. You are also getting vitamin E. There's some other B vitamins in there. It's pretty high in niacin, or B3. Niacin is important for lots of functions in your body, including brain, nervous system. And it's also got some biotin in it, selenium. Selenium you can find in quite a lot of nuts. Brazil nuts are the best for selenium, but you get some here in peanuts too. Okay, we're ready to add our chocolate chips. It calls for a cup, and this is almost about a cup's worth that I have left in this jar, but let's see how it looks once it's blended. And like all plants, peanut butter has other wonderful things other than vitamins and minerals. It has naturally occurring bioactive compounds that are really good for us. You know, our flavonoids, our bioflavonoids, and antioxidants, which can help with dealing with oxidative stress, inflammation in the body, improve our immune function, etc. Yeah, I think that's enough chocolate chips. Okay, so we're ready to spoon these out and then bake. That's it. So I will spare you the detail or watching me spoon this out, and then we'll be back afterwards to show how the texture is once it's done. But again, you know, peanut butter is a really healthy food. Don't be afraid of it unless you have an allergy or food sensitivity. If you do, try different nut butter if you like. But this is a nice low-carb, protein-packed treat that can be a good snack, although I don't really snack because I don't like to have all the multiple blood sugar spikes and insulin response. So I tend to just stick to my 3 meals a day and don't need snacks, but you do you. But, you know, just be aware of that every time you eat. You know, you're doing that to yourself. So, yeah, I like to have a nice, healthy treat at the end of my dinner for satisfying that sweet tooth so that you're less likely to be craving and then later binge in a way that you maybe don't want to. I did use crunchy peanut butter because I like crunchy. You could use smooth if you don't like that. I think in cookies it'll be nice to have the crunch of the nut. But yeah, peanut butter is healthy for you. Protein, healthy fats. vitamin E, some B vitamins, high in manganese as well, and copper. So especially if you are vegetarian. Okay, I am going to show you the spooning of the cookies just for a sec here, because it's pretty sticky stuff, right? It's peanut butter. And one little trick I noticed is once you spooned out your cookies, then moisten your hands. So my hands were washed, of course, before I started cooking. But again, I went and rinsed them so they're a little bit moist, and I can just dab them into shape. So I can, you know, kind of shape up all the little flared edges that are rough to make it a little better formed. So when you're working with really sticky nut butters like this, that's just a little trick. You know, once you've spooned them out and they still look rough around the edges, just moisten your hands and just dab lightly and quickly, and that lets you shape them. Yeah. I am one of those people who will look at the, you know, be tempted by the cookie that has the most chocolate chips. So I did add a few chocolate chips to even them out with the ones once I got to the bottom of scraping the bowl out to spoon the last few cookies. There's maybe less chocolate chips, so I hand added some. But okay, so we've got, let's see, 5 by 3, so we've got 15 cookies. So we're going to put this in the oven, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're going to set your timer. It says it should bake for about 8 to 12 minutes. So let's put 8 minutes, and then you'll check it. If it's not ready, then you're going to, you know, go a little bit longer. So that's it. And we'll be back when they're done. I'm going to calculate for you how much protein per cookie. So you've got 2 eggs, so 10 grams. We've got a whole cup of peanut butter. So in a cup of peanut butter is 16 tablespoons. Remember, it's 4 grams of protein per tablespoon. So that's 4 times 6, and then plus the 10. And then we'll divide that by 15. Okay, so I'll be back with the math. See you soon. Okay, we're back. It's beeping. It's time to take everything out of the oven. So clear. And they look pretty good. I actually ended up having to do it for 15 minutes. So the full suggested, 12 minutes, the full suggested time. And yeah, we're going to let those cool before we eat them. Not just so we don't burn ourselves, but also for the texture to set, for the cookies to set. Because if they're too soft, they're going to fall apart. Notice I did bake on parchment paper. It's something I do in general with cookies. I just find it easier for cleaning afterwards and for taking them off the cookie sheet. But oh, they came off really nice and easy. Yeah, so I already put some coffee on. Now I just need to make some lunch, and I have my healthy dessert. So I did calculate the quantity of protein per cookie. There we are. And so rounding up, it's 5 grams of protein per cookie. Now, of course, it's not exact because they're handmade. It's not an even every single cookie volume, but on average, you're getting 5 grams of protein per cookie. So that's nice to know. You have a dessert that's giving you protein as much as an egg. So an egg has 5 grams of protein. So if you're going to have a dessert or a sweet indulgence, then this is a better way to do it. You get some protein, healthy fats, and it's low in sugar. Again, I used only 1/3 cup of pure maple syrup to sweeten it with. And of course the chocolate chips lend a little bit of sweetness as well, but I did use dark so that it's less sugar. Okay, so it is sugar, though it's low. So don't go hog wild and eat the whole batch, right? So don't eat more than 1 or 2 in one sitting, okay? So I hope that gave you some ideas. Again, play with it in terms of you could add some chopped nuts, some pecans, walnuts. That will give it even more healthy fats and protein. You could change the nut butter if you have a sensitivity, or allergy to peanut butter and use a different kind. If you can't do nuts at all, there are seed butters now too, like sunflower seed butter. I haven't experimented with that, but that might be something you could try. But I would probably skip it altogether. If you have allergies to nuts in general, you could use an alternative flours, right? If you're avoiding gluten. So anyways, that's all for now. Check out my other recipes. They're all there, free food demos. And I explain also what is the benefit of what you're eating and why. So, the more things come from real food, whole foods, plant-based, the better for your health and preventing chronic disease. Heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and cancer, especially, those big four, okay? So that means like eating healthy fats, not the kind that inflame you, not eating highly processed foods, so you're making it yourself from mostly whole foods. The peanut butter I chose was minimally processed. It was just peanuts and salt, nothing else. Yeah, so you want to keep it simple and make things yourself and make it with mostly plants. I did use some eggs, so again, this is plant-based. It's not vegan, but it's plant-based, and that's what we mean by plant-based whole foods, that the majority of what you're eating comes from plants, but it doesn't mean you have to be vegan and avoid everything from food unless that's a spiritual choice for you or out of necessity because of health. But otherwise, a little bit of animal products here and there is not going to be necessarily bad for you if it's mostly plants that you're eating in your diet. In the blue zones, places where people have a higher density of centenarians, people that live to 100 or more, they eat mostly plants but do eat some animal products too. And so it goes to show that it's just about how much and is it quality and healthy in terms of where it's sourced from. So things to consider while you're experimenting in your kitchen. Check out my other videos for more ideas and ways to eat whole food plant-based.